And we have all your live and local news from Lawrence and Mercer counties.
On tonight's show, we'll talk to a local girl who hasn't been to school in months, but the reason for her absence may surprise you.
Gas prices are on the rise, but how far would you go to save some money at the pump? We'll take a closer look at a growing crime in our area. And the warmer weather means spring sports are in full swing. We'll have all the scores and highlights from the area in Titantown Sports. We're live. We're local.
The County Line starts now.
A new ordinance in New Wilmington will bring a change for each and every home in the borough. Later tonight, we'll tell you what this change means for residents.
Plus, we'll have all your other news from the area on 889 on the County Line. Good evening, I'm Pat Sandora.
And I'm Shannon McLean. The Newcastle High School's dress code policy has caused quite a stir with students and parents since officials began enforcing it last September. There may be supporters who say the dress code cuts down on bullying and helps students concentrate on their work. But there are also those who feel this dress code is taking away students' rights. One Newcastle High School student, Tabitha Lutz, along with her parents, has gone as far as to sue the school district over the policy. The County Line's Allison Gasper met with the family to get their side of the story.
Policy was made for Newcastle High School. Tabitha Lutz has dealt with a lot more than the average teenager is used to. She and her parents are suing the Newcastle School District, saying that the new dress code violates the students' right to free speech. Tabitha's dad says that the student right violation isn't the only problem. According to him, Newcastle High School administration is unfairly singling out Tabitha while letting others who disobey the dress code get away with it.
I make it a point. When I walk through the front door, I have to sign in. I continue to go towards the office. I count out loud the number of people I see out of compliance. And I've yet to go into that school and count less than 20 people. At least 20 people are out of compliance with the policy every time I walk in there.
Since the last time Tabitha was at school was January 24th, she will not receive credit for this year. Many parents are questioning their decision on keeping her out of school for this long, but her mother Brenda thinks that it is more important for her to stand up for herself.
She is getting more of an education by what she is doing now because she is learning what her rights are and how to stand up for them.
The Martins worry that if students don't fight for their rights now, that they risk losing more rights in the future. But what does Tabitha think that she loses because of the dress code?
Personality, style, freedom.
Some see it as a school policy, others see it as fighting for their rights. Either way, the court will decide. In Newcastle, I'm Allison Gasper for the County Line.
A trial date has been set for the 3 students and their families who say Newcastle School District has violated their rights to free speech. The trial is set for June 27th in the U.S. District Court in Pittsburgh.
As gas prices rise in our area, everyone is doing what they can to save money at the pump. Some people are going as far as to get their gas for free, but will end up paying for more than just a full tank in the end. The County Line's Mike Walensky visits a local gas station to learn how officials are working to stop a growing crime in our area.
Rising gas prices in the recent months haven't stopped everybody from filling up their tanks. It's provoked some people to steal gasoline. I spoke with local BP station manager Sue Poldink about what they do to prevent runoffs.
The only thing we can really do is just try and make eye contact with them, get a description of the car or the person, and so if they do drive off, and if we think they try and come out and get a license plate, that's about all we can do.
Every year, more than $112 million worth of gasoline is stolen. Stations only average a 2 to 3 cent profit per gallon of gasoline. They often make more on a cup of coffee than an entire fill-up. This means that stations must sell hundreds of gallons of gasoline in order to make up for a single drive-off. Gasoline theft spans all demographics. It happens with cars from junkers to late-model SUVs. Polding says that when someone does try to steal gasoline, they don't hesitate to get the police involved.
Normally they're pretty good about coming down, especially if we have a license plate. If we know what direction they're heading, if they're heading toward like north or south, especially south on 18, we contact the state police and they head up north. Or if they're heading toward New Wilmington, we contact the Wilmington police and they can head up 208 and hopefully, be able to get a description of the car.
Reporting says that so far this week they haven't had any incidents with people stealing gasoline, but that's not always the case.
We've had a couple of episodes last week. This week we haven't had any, so it seems like it's a little higher, and we've been trying to, watch a little closer.
Okay. Gas prices are sure to continue to rise as time goes on. Reporting in Lawrence County, I'm Mike Walensky for the County Line.
It's amazing how expensive gas has gotten in the past few months. I know, I just filled up my car yesterday and it cost me almost $30.
I know, I keep filling up my car in increments, like 10 here, 12 here. It's psych myself out so I'm not spending.
Still adds up though, unfortunately.
It does, of course. As part of National Work Zone Awareness Week, PennDOT officials are offering some safety tips for driving in work zones. Motorists should keep a safe driving distance from the vehicle in front of them and be prepared for sudden stops. Be patient of other motorists and avoid aggressive driving, and most importantly, always obey the posted speed limit. Be aware that fines are doubled in work zone areas, and going more than 11 miles per hour over the speed limit can mean a mandatory 15-day license suspension.
You're at home and a family member has a medical emergency. You call 911 and wait for the ambulance, but will paramedics be able to find your house? A new ordinance in New Wilmington is making sure that house numbers are clearly marked. The County Line's Jessica Rummel talks with New Wilmington Mayor Wendell Wagner about what the borough is doing to address the problem.
Police officer, EMT, or pizza delivery person, finding residences in New Wilmington Borough may prove difficult. Each house has its own numbering style, placement of address, or no number at all. With the problem worsening over the past few years, Mayor Wendell Wagner and Chief of Police Carmen Picarello decided to do something about it.
I used to know every single person in New Wilmington when I was growing up, but today you don't because of all the people that have moved in, and we do have people coming and going, and a lot of people do not have numbers on their houses. And now we're preparing an ordinance right now, going to have that written up for council's review, and then they'll make changes, maybe not, and we'll state where it has to be, like it needs to be within a foot or two of the front door, somewhere, maybe left, maybe right. It depends on how the door works, but on a house. But it must be ready to look at right at the front of the house. We had first experimented with these numbers that could be put on with Velcro or with tape or glued on for that matter, and they are reflective. But we find that they were not universally reflective. Some numbers reflected much better than others. We've been playing with games at my house with all kinds of, I've got numbers lined up and down the front of my house, and the police come by at night, shine their spotlights on the house to see what is reflecting best. And this is going to be probably the final thing. This is going to be a 6 by 12 inch aluminum plate in black with these numbers. Now these are 3M reflective numbers, so we know the quality is consistent. We've had this on the house. Even with a flashlight from the curb, this stands out very, very well.
So what do local residents think about this new possible ordinance? Most agree with the Borough Council.
For some people, they may prefer to use their own letters or their own signs, but me personally, it wouldn't bother me.
Residents will be responsible for the cost of the numbers.
The plate, maybe, we're talking around $7, something of that nature, so it's not going to be prohibitive for people to buy these and put them on their house.
Once the ordinance is passed, residents will have several months to get their numbers right before citations are issued. In New Wilmington, I'm Jessica Rummel for the County Line.
It's interesting that such a small change as changing the standard house number can make such a big difference in the community.
Right. I think it's important that now people know, that ambulance will maybe find us easier, quicker,
Yeah, such big consequences could come from something so little.
Right, that seems so little.
Exactly. Well, you know what? The changing of the house numbers in New Wilmington isn't the only local story here.
That's right. In the County Line's Leanne Veras is here with this week's top local stories on 88.9 on the County Line.
Titan Radio Digital 88.9 News brings you local news now.
Good evening, I'm Leanne Veras with this week's top stories from Titan Radio News on 89 FM. There was a dangerous car crash in Lawrence County Tuesday night. A Detroit, Michigan man was traveling westbound when he entered the Easy Pass lane on the Pennsylvania Turnpike Gateway interchange. He was traveling at a high rate of speed. He then struck the occupied toll booth in his truck, causing significant damage. Then he traveled across the concrete island, damaging additional equipment. When the car finally came to rest, the man was still in contact with the booth. No injuries were reported. The Pennsylvania Department of Transportation has released nearly $6 million for local road projects, including work on roadways in Wilmington Township and the borough of New Wilmington. Construction will take place this summer on repairing and repaving on State Routes 208 and 956, as well as U.S. Route 19. Does our area have dirty air? Well, one county in the state had the Environmental Protection Agency keeping a close eye on it. Mercer County was one of 21 counties in 9 states that were recently removed from the government's watch list for having the dirtiest air. The counties on the list would have had their development limited and could have lost their federal highway dollars if they didn't clean up their air. College students in Pennsylvania could be getting more money, grant money that is. Lawmakers in Harrisburg are supposed to be considering a proposal next week. It will raise need-based college grants by 40%. A task force is considering raising the maximum award from $3,300 to $4,600. Finally, Governor Ed Rendell made a direct pitch to school boards for his property tax relief program. Rendell discussed the Act 72 program Tuesday in a video conference with school board members from across the state. Only a few school districts have voted to take advantage of the program so far. That was your 89 on the county line, and to keep up to date every weekday, tune into Titan Radio for continuous news coverage. More County Line is on the way.
In honor of the Newcastle Film Festival, we're here in New Wilmington asking people what type of movie genre and films they like to go see.
I kind of prefer comedy, the Eddie Murphy kind of stuff. I like him.
I guess comedy too. I don't know. I guess.
I pretty much prefer maybe romance with a little adventure on the side.
Little House on the Prairie type, the old-timey stuff.
I like action movies, like drama and action.
Romance ones. I love the romance ones.
I like romantic comedies. The last movie I saw was Hitch. Pretty Woman.
I love Lord of the Rings.
In The Little Mermaid. I like The Little Mermaid movie. I like to see a SpongeBob.
Now back to you in the studio, Kirsten, where we're going to learn about this year's genre for the film festival.
Thanks, Catherine. You've heard of the Warner Brothers, but have you heard of the Warner Sisters? Joining me tonight is Allison McNeil, who is a co-director of the Harry M. Warner Pennsylvania Film Festival. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what exactly is a film festival?
I'm learning these things as I go along. I hope I'm not making it up, but it can be a lot of different things. For one thing, I discovered it's more or less a trade show. So independent filmmakers can get together with producers and hopefully get their films picked up and shown and make some money, get some money rolling back into the coffers. But I want to make it clear that our film festival this year is a festival of short film and video. So we're focusing on shorts, which is any kind of film that's about 20 minutes long or shorter.
What do you do at a film festival?
Well, we went to Sundance to do some research for the Harry Warner Festival, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was going to be that we were going to do, but the moment that I was able to see my first viewing, I found that this is really what the festival was all about. It's about that creative, independent artwork that has been put together with love, affection, lots of sweat and tears, lots of money, and just the creative fervor of all of that was what I was there for. But there were also things that went along with it, like lectures. There were a huge group of interested people and interesting people who are very excited about the film industry as well. So all around, there were a lot of things to keep us involved.
Yeah. How did you get involved in this?
Well, that's a little bit of a long story. I got involved because I was going to a conference actually with a colleague of mine, and I was suggesting that I would like to see some kind of economic revival in the Newcastle, Lawrence County region. And I also wanted to see maybe something that would spark interest in the downtown area. And when we talked about a way to raise money for the Lawrence County Historical Society, She said, why don't you trade in on your history? Isn't Newcastle the home of the Warner Theater? And that's how it started. She said, I think we could start a film institute. We could get the Warner Brothers involved. We could, the sky would be the limit if we got their approval. So it started back there.
Now, how do people enter this stuff, or is that over, the deadline for that?
The deadline is over for that. We put out an announcement in the fall. It went into a couple of national magazines. The Independent was one of them. And the call for films was done by our film director, the director of the festival, who is John Shumway. He's in the art department. And his MFA is in video production. So he put that together. We got it out, and we also emailed a lot of the directors from Slam Dance and Sundance to invite them to join in.
Yeah. Now, how much does this cost?
Well, we are really, we're trying to keep the cost as reasonable as possible so that we can get student independent directors involved. And we had a first cutoff for February 1st of $15 to get your film in, and then $25 on a late fee kind of thing.
Now, can anyone go and watch these films?
Anyone is welcome to go and purchase a ticket, but we would recommend that people know that there is some mature content, and so there is parental discretion.
Okay, well, thank you. The screenings for this are April 21st, which is a Thursday, at 7 p.m. It's at Slippery Rock University in the multi-purpose room. And Friday, April 22nd, it's also at 7 p.m. at the Scottish Rite Cathedral. So if you're interested, you're definitely going to want to check it out. Thank you again for being here tonight. Stay tuned for more County Line.
I got a filet of sole and a cracked crab for Mr. Studied higher math back in school and now can order expensive lunches and charge it to the company.
Next office down the hall.
Well, thanks. Have a good one.
Ralph Hernandez, congratulations! You can now get college loans, government jobs, and job training. Men must register with Selective Service when they turn 18. Go to sss.gov or the post office.
It's the law.
Picture yourself at Westminster College. Westminster offers an educational experience that is second to none. We've been exceeding students' expectations for 150 years. Westminster combines the prestige of a national liberal arts college with the personal attention you deserve. Westminster is a national leader in graduation rate performance and is the most affordable national liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. Visit Westminster's beautiful 300-acre campus to experience an ideal learning environment. Succeed at Westminster College.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Titantown Sports. I'm Justin Egley. Here's what's happening in your sports world this week. We'll start off with the big headline all Westminster athletic fans have been waiting for. We finally have a 7th member in the pack. We told you that Geneva College and Thomas More were 2 of the candidates, and the winner is, drumroll please, Thomas More. Thomas More is located in Crestview Hills, Kentucky. They're currently a member of NCAA Division III. The conference will begin scheduling Thomas More in all sports beginning this fall. And the greatest part of all this is the Saints will be immediately eligible for conference titles in all sports. Dr. Tori Herring-Smith, chair of the PAC President Council, says this is the first step for the PAC as we begin to grow our conference, both in size and in academic and athletic stature. Dr. Smith also says they are very excited to have Thomas More in the PAC and that this is a great step to a long-term vision of having 8 to 10 members in the conference. The reason you should be excited about this is now with 7 teams, the PAC meets the minimum requirement to reach automatic bids to NCAA Division III championships. The next stepping stone for the PAC is to appeal the 2-year waiting period for conferences wishing to gain automatic qualification status. We'll keep you up to date if and when there is an appeal. Now to men's baseball team. They're having a great beginning to their season as they clinched 2 shutouts on Tuesday against PAC rival Grove City. The Titans' record this year now stands at 11 wins and 2 losses. From the doubleheader, we have 2 pitchers that gained their first collegiate career shutout. In Game 1, it was freshman Craig Hannon, as the Titans won that game 5-0. This is Craig's 2nd win this season, as he scattered a pair of singles, walked 4 batters, and struck out 5. 5 strikeouts is usually pretty good, but when it comes to But when it came to Tony Cunningham, he blew Hannon away. Not only did Tony get his first collegiate career shutout, but he scattered 3 hits, 3 walks, and struck out 11 batters. Just in case if you missed that, here it is again. Tony Cunningham struck out 11 batters. The score in that second game was 3-0, and much of that offense was from the help of senior first baseman Brian Andrews. Brian gets the honors of knocking out the first home run in the Lake Britain this year. One thing we're going to do to Titantown Sports from now on is have a Lake Britain counter. Each week I'll let you know how many home run balls Lake Britain will keep this year. The Titans had a game today at 3 o'clock against LaRoche College for a single 9-inning game. The Titans won 9-2, and the winning pitcher was Mike Mackin as he pitched the whole complete game. The men's baseball team isn't the only team doing well this season so far, though. The Lady Titans softball team is having a very impressive year as well. But before we get into their games, one player was named Hitter of the Week for the President's Athletic Conference. That player, Heidi Kimmel. Kimmel led the Lady Titans to a 3-1 week last week by hitting 7 of 13. She had 1 home run, 3 doubles, 3 runs scored, 3 stolen bases, and 2 RBIs. The Lady Titans traveled to Penn State Altoona in a non-conference doubleheader on Wednesday as they won both games. The first game was 8-3, and the second game was 12-6. One player to look out for on that Lady Titan squad is pitcher Jennifer Pancake. She pitched the first game against Altoona to improve her record to 11 wins and only 1 loss. The Lady Titans' current record is now 13-3. The ladies have won 4 straight games and 11 out of the past 12 games. The ladies also had another game scheduled for today, but was canceled due to the weather. Now we'll go from college softball to high school softball as Chris Sinkum has this week's one-on-one.
I'm here with Lisa Donner of the West Middlesex Miss Red's fast-pitch girls softball team. Lisa, how did you originally get into softball, and how did you become a catcher?
Well, my sister played when I was younger. I was like 7 or 8, and I started playing softball when I was 9. And when I was 12, I started at fast pitch, and I just wanted to be a catcher then.
Now, I understand your team had a pretty impressive season last year, going all the way to 8th in states. What are the goals of your team, and what are your personal goals for this season?
Well, last year we were D10 champions, and obviously you said 8th in the state. And this year we're AA instead of single A, so it'll be more difficult, but we should do pretty well.
Now, this being your senior year, what is your most memorable moment of the past 3 to 4 seasons?
I have 2. My sister was a senior when I was a freshman, and every year when we went to district, we always just lost, and my sister's senior year we won the first round. And so that was pretty nice, and then last year we won D10. So that was another memorable moment.
Now, I understand you have a game coming up against Grove City. How do you feel about that matchup?
Well, you are from Grove City, so kind of allies here. And, well, they lost their pitcher last year, so we should play well yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. For the County Line, I'm Chris Zinkum.
Hey, thanks, Chris. And thank all of you for watching this week's edition of Titantown Sports. I'm Justin Egley. Please stay tuned as more County Line is on the way.
There's a better way to have fun with history. Visit americaslibrary.gov. Log on, play around, learn something.
The Lawrence County Humane Society believes in the safety of spaying and neutering your animals. Spaying and neutering can have many long-term benefits.
We at the Lawrence County Humane Society believe that all animals should be spayed or neutered. Many reasons why, but the biggest reason is that they will be a happier, healthier pet. Also, it alleviates the overpopulation problem.
Getting your animals spayed and neutered is one huge step in making sure that more animals are healthy and find loving homes.
I'm the best thing you ever had. Only thing I'm guilty of is giving you too much love, making you crazy, making you rap, making me fall, making me suspect. Seem to think I'm playing her game. Don't you know, you never heard? This is me.
There's There's a better way to have fun with history. Visit americaslibrary.gov. Log on, play around, learn something.
The County Line's Mike Walensky and Aiden Miwa probably have the best job on the show. Each week they go out and find fun places in Lawrence and Mercer counties. This week they chow down on some old-fashioned home cooking as they go on the road.
Welcome to On the Road. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aiden.
This week we headed to Newcastle in search of some fine dining, and what did we find?
The Faraone Brothers.
The Faraone Brothers, a little new restaurant. The food is excellent. Now you might not have heard of them yet because they just opened about 5 months ago.
About that.
About 5 months ago. Well, we spoke to the manager, Bobby Faraone, one of the Faraone brothers. So let's see what he has to say.
Me and my brothers, there's 4 brothers. My oldest is Freddie, Anthony, myself, and David's the youngest. And we basically got started. We all started in the kitchen in the restaurant business since we were all 16.
Bobby offered us a quick tour of the kitchen.
Now, this is one of my employees making one of our homemade products. This is eggplant. It's one of our best sellers. It's my grandmother's recipe. What she does is flour, egg, breadcrumb, then we fry it and bake it. If you're looking for some good eggplant, guarantee this is the best you'll ever have. So take it from me. I'm Bobby, one of the Faraone brothers. Happy. But this is Rihanna, my best eggplant maker. So if you guys are hungry for some eggplant, come up and try us out.
In addition to eggplant, they also have some other scrumptious things on the menu.
Our menu consists of pasta dinners. We have everything. Then we have sandwiches, steak, ham, meatball, roast beef. You know, a nice selection of sandwiches. We have wings, pizzas.
That does it for this. Aiden?
What?
We're gonna do finish the show. You know, if you're gonna take a break from eating, I know the food's really good and all. But
it is wonderful.
It is good. All right. That does it for this week's On the Road. I'm Mike.
And I'm Aiden.
Join us next week when we go On the Road.
The Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board held events at liquor stores across the state today. The board held the events, and state store workers already have a standard system to make sure that no one under the age of 21 buys alcohol. Cashiers swipe the driver's license of anyone appearing under the legal drinking age. Today's events were held in conjunction with the Century Council, a nonprofit organization dedicated to stopping drunk driving and underage drinking.
A new Wilmington man's work took the top spot at a local juried art competition. Judges named North Window, a photograph by Ron Hovis, Best in Show at the event at the Hoyt Institute of Fine Arts in Newcastle. Hovis's photo beat out more than 200 other applicants from Pittsburgh and Youngstown. The Institute will showcase 77 other works of art at their regional event later this month. For more information, you can visit the Hoyt Institute's website at www.hoytartcenter.org.
Well, Shannon, earlier in the show we learned about how local gas station owners are cutting down on people leaving the pumps. And next week, the County Line's Jolene Slattery will show you how to save money on gas.
Our On the Road team better pay attention next week because they're always driving around looking for a new location. And next week, Mike and Aiden will be at it again, bringing you another hot spot in our area.
And speaking of hot, the temperature is getting up there and spring sports are kicking into high gear. We'll have all the local scores and highlights in Titantown sports.
Tune to the County Line next week for all your live and local news from Lawrence and Mercer counties. For all of us here at the County Line, thanks for watching.
Have a great night.